बोलिए अलबेली सरकार की। In this series on bhakti, I explained to you that there are mainly three kinds of bhakti: sadhana bhakti, bhao bhakti, and prema bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is the bhakti we have to do. It's the practice of remembering Radha and Krishna, thinking of them. That purifies our heart, and through that practice of sadhana bhakti, eventually, naturally, the next stage evolves in our heart, which is called bhao bhakti. This is where our mind is starting to just naturally feel a deep love for Radha and Krishna all the time. Our mind has become somewhat attached to them, although not fully. Whereas in the sadhana, the practice of sadhana, the mind is attached in the world and you're trying to bring it into, get it attached to Radha and Krishna. In bhao bhakti, the mind has become somewhat attached, although not fully. And you keep practicing sadhana, and this bhao bhakti keeps growing. Your heart gets more and more purified. You get more and more attached to Radha and Krishna. And as this is happening, Swarup Shakti is gradually impregnating your heart, your antahakaran, more and more and more, through your Guru's grace. Then when the heart is fully purified, that Swarup Shakti which was graced to you by your Guru, that divinizes your whole being. Your antahakaran becomes divine. Then into your divine antahakaran you receive prema bhakti, which is the essence of the power of bliss, called ahladini shakti, which is the foremost power, or the essence of God's Swarup Shakti. So the essence of God's foremost personal power is the power of divine love that you receive upon complete heart purification. So right now we have to concentrate on sadhana bhakti. This is what we have to do. This is the actual practice. How do we walk the path? We have to understand how to do sadhana bhakti. So in that regard, yesterday I explained that the ways of practicing this sadhana bhakti are many, many. But out of all those many different ways of doing bhakti, 9 have been given the most importance by saints throughout history. And out of those 9, only 3 are prime. Those 3 are Shravana Bhakti, listening to a saint describe any Leela of Radha and Krishna or explain the philosophy to you. Kirtana Bhakti, which means the singing of God's name, virtues, decorations and features, and Leelas. This is Kirtan. And the 3rd is Smaran. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji says, Bahu janma yadi kare shravan kirtan, tabhu na paya Krishna pade prem dhan. Although Shravan and Kirtan are each one of the 3 main forms of sadhana bhakti we have to do, yet Mahaprabhu ji says you can do Shravan and Kirtan for uncountable lifetimes and you'll still not receive Krishna's prem, his divine love. Why not? Because the ultimate success of sadhana bhakti depends on the 3rd thing, smarana bhakti. Smaran means remembrance. If you're thinking of someone, you're doing smaran. We do smaran all the time. It's the main thing that our man does. Our mind doesn't have to be taught how to do smaran. We're always doing smaran of whoever we love, whatever we want to attain. These are the things that we're always thinking about. So we quite naturally know how to do smaran. Doing that same smaran for Radha Krishna is called smarana bhakti. And this is the most important form of bhakti. Even out of those three, Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, Smaran is the main one which you cannot do without. In fact, someone could do without all of the other forms of bhakti, but no one can succeed without doing Smarana bhakti. So if you do all the other forms of bhakti, but don't do Smarana bhakti, you won't attain anything. If you do Smarana bhakti and don't do any other form of bhakti, you will attain your divine goal. Sri Maharaj Ji, when he explained this one time, he told a funny story from his youth to highlight this point of how you have many options and you can do any of them you want, but one, you don't have a choice. You have to do that one. So he said, as a boy, he obviously was very good at Sanskrit when he was going to school. He learned Sanskrit very quickly, and he was better than everyone at that. But the way Sri Maharaj Ji tells this story, he says, I had a pride of my ability. He was just a boy at the time. So whenever there was a test, he said, I used to just do that so fast so I could finish and get out of the class. The first one, I had to be done first. And then I'd wait for my class fellows to come out so I could say, oh, what took you so long? He said I was the same way with riding a bike. When I was riding the bike down the road, if I saw someone ahead of me on the street, I would have to speed up and pass him. But of course, in India, there's so many bicycles on the road. You pass one person, you see the next person in front of you. So in this haste, I used to just go and get to where I was going. So I was the same way with taking these Sanskrit exams. So there was one exam I took that had 6 questions. And the instruction was, out of these 6 questions, you can do any 5, but you must do the third one. Other than that, you have the option, do any 5 of the 6. So Maharaji says, in my haste, I didn't read the instructions properly. I just did any 5 questions I wanted, and which one did I leave? I left the third one out. And I finished that exam. I answered all the questions properly and went out, and it was an hour or an hour and a half until the next person emerged from the class. And of course, Maharaji said I was standing there that, oh, it's about time. I've been waiting out here. So the first one of his class fellows to emerge just casually asked him, Tripathi ji, that's everyone knows Maharaji as Ram Kripalu Tripathi, that's his name growing up. So Tripathi ji, what did you put for number 3? Maharaji said, I didn't answer number 3. So he said, oh, Tripathi ji, today you made a big mistake. You didn't read those instructions. It said you had to answer number 3. So Maharaji said, oh, the feeling I had at that point that I knew the answer to number 3 as well, but just out of carelessness, I didn't answer it. So Maharaji says, like this, do any kind of bhakti. Our scriptures give you total freedom, but you must do smaran. You can't leave that one out. If you're doing smaran, the rest is completely up to you. But if you leave smaran out, then you're doing anasanga bhakti. This is the term Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji used. Anasang means without the association or without the attachment of your mind. That kind of bhakti is really easy to do. You can chant arti, you can chant homage, you can chant Radhe Govinda and just let your mind wander in the world. That's easy to do. That's anasanga bhakti. So you're doing kirtan, but you're not doing smaran. Or you are doing smaran, but you're doing smaran of the world. So you'll get the result of whatever you're doing smaran of, not the result of whatever you're chanting. So the smaran is actually the only thing Krishna is looking at. He's not looking at how nicely is he chanting my kirtan. He's looking at what is he doing smaran of right now? And he gives you the phal of that. This is why a saint says, Manera smarana pran. Smaran is the pran of bhakti. The pran means the soul, the life of bhakti. It's the core thing that you can't do without. If you take out the core thing, if you take the soul out of your physical body, what's left? A dead body. What's the value of that? When someone's soul departs their body and that person's dead body is lying there, even their most loved ones who love them so much in life, do they keep that dead body around? No, they immediately take it out of the house. Because they didn't love that body, they loved the one who was inhabiting the body, and that one is gone now, and only the dead body's left behind. So it's the same thing with smaran. If you take smaran out, then all the other practices of bhakti, they're just the outer practices. That's the outer form of bhakti is kirtan. The inner form of bhakti is smaran. So there are many outer forms, kirtan, shravan, any other kind. But the inner form of bhakti, antaranga bhakti, that is smaran, and that has to be there. Alodya sarva shastrani vicharya cha punah punah idamekam sunishpannam dhyeyo narayano hari. Vedavyasji writes in the Padma Puran that he did manthan of all the Shastras, Vedas, Puranas, all of our scriptures. Doing manthan means he went through it again and again and again, like churning something to see what rises to the top. So what rises to the top? The best thing. So he churned our scriptures many, many times. And what rose to the top? Smaran. He uses the word dhyan in this shlok. It means the same thing. Remembrance of Radha Krishna. That is the essence of all of our scriptures. All of the teachings in all the different scriptures, if you have to take one thing out of it, Vedavyas, a dissension of God and the knower and reproducer of all of those scriptures, says that one thing is smarana bhakti. So if you're doing smarana bhakti, that's called sasanga bhakti. It means your mind is attached to Radha and Krishna. Sang means attachment. Sasang means with the attachment of the mind. So sasanga bhakti purifies your heart. That's the goal of sadhana bhakti, right? To purify the heart. How will the heart get purified if you don't bring Radha and Krishna into your heart? You can do all the kirtan you want. If you're not bringing Radha Krishna into your heart, how will it get purified? So the real sadhana is remembering Radha and Krishna. If we're not remembering them, it's like multiplying by 0. You multiply 1 by 0, the answer is 0. Multiply 100 by 0, the answer is 0. Multiply 1,000,000 by 0, the answer is still 0. So the 0 means not doing smaran. And the 1 or the 100 or the 1,000,000, think of that as the number of hours of chanting or any other form of bhakti that you're doing. So if you're multiplying those hours by 0, in other words, you're not doing smaran, then the end result is going to be 0. But if you want to not do any other form of bhakti and only do smaran, you'll still get the same result as if you do smaran and add in any other form of bhakti. Yena kena prakarena manah krishne niveshayet. Roop Goswami says, any which way you want to attach your mind to Krishna, there's no rule, just remember him. Maharajji tells a story from his childhood in this regard as well. When he was 16 years old, and he had left civilization and he was wandering in the jungles of central India. So in his travels, he came upon a great devotee, a great bhakt, who was quite aged, as Maharaji was coming through the jungle, he saw at a distance, sitting outside of an old simple hut, was this aged devotee who was sitting on the path just outside of his hut, looking down the path that came to his hut. And his hair was gray and long and tangled, and his beard was gray and long and tangled. And in one hand he had a piece of mirror, just a broken piece of mirror, and in the other hand a comb, just a broken piece of a comb. And he was sitting, he would look down the path, and then he would try to comb, looking into that broken piece of mirror, he'd try to comb his beard and comb his hair. But then he would say, "Ha Krishna," or "Ha Priyatam," and he would faint and fall unconscious on the ground. And then when he would regain consciousness again, he would sit and look down the trail like he was expecting someone to come, and he would try to fix his appearance, and then again in separation from Krishna, he would lose consciousness. So Maharaji watched from a distance for quite a while. Then eventually he approached, and he asked him, "Oh Babaji, what are you doing with this comb and mirror? Who are you waiting for?" And he said, "I'm waiting for my beloved Krishna. He could be coming at any time. So when he comes, I don't want him to, if he sees me with this tangled mat of hair, he might not like my appearance. So I'm his gopi. I'm trying to look nice for him when he comes to me." So Sri Maharaji says that is also a form of bhakti. But look in all the scriptures and try to find where is the description of doing bhakti with a comb and mirror. It's not described in any scripture. But he was doing smaran of Krishna. He was longing and waiting for him. That's smaran. So he was doing the internal form of bhakti. Then he made up a new form of external bhakti, bhakti with a comb and mirror. Maharaji says that's fine. Make up any form of external bhakti you want, whatever helps you do smaran. As long as smaran is there, you're correct. So the point is, to do sadhana bhakti, we have to remember Radha and Krishna. This is the core. So how to do that? Maharaji says that the way that you should try to do it is by doing Roop Dhyan, another term for you, which you've probably heard from Sri Maharaji. Roop means the form, and Dhyan means meditation. So meditating on the form of Radha and Krishna is Roop Dhyan. This is how you do smaran. You might be thinking, okay, I want to remember Radha and Krishna. How do I remember them? How do I think of them? Imagine their form. That's it. Very simple. And there's no restriction or judgment about how you have to do this. In other words, you don't have to worry, what is the quality of my imagination? Maybe you're not a visual person and everything you imagine is black and white or fuzzy. It doesn't matter. You don't have to think that, is my imagination of Krishna correct? Is this how his crown is supposed to be? Is that how his nose is supposed to be? I can't remember exactly. None of that matters. Right or wrong does not apply here. Just the fact that you're trying to think of him is all that matters. And you have total freedom to imagine him any way you want. So any form of Krishna, with any kind of features you want. You like seeing him more dark bluish color or lighter color complexion, that's up to you. Taller, shorter, a little more chubby, a little more skinny. It's all up to you, and you can keep changing it. His age, you can think of him as anywhere from a newborn up to 16 years of age. Although his 16-year of age form is said to be the sweetest form. But you have freedom. You can think of him in any age. Even if you want to think of him as an old man, you can do that, walking with a cane. You want to think of old Sri Krishna, you can do that too. So choose the age of your own preference, of your own liking. Choose the features, height, build, decorations of your own liking. Decorate Krishna any way you want and keep changing it. Put one style crown on him and then think, no, I want a smaller crown, emphasizing the peacock feather and just a small crown on his head. And you think, no, I want something with more bigger gold and diamonds and the peacock feather on the side. Okay, in your own mind, keep changing it. I want his pitambar he's wearing around his shoulders to be a little longer. Okay, make it longer. I want it to have a border on the end. Okay, give it a border. Same thing with his dhoti. More shiny, less shiny, deeper yellow, lighter yellow. Maharaji goes to the point of saying if you want to dress Shri Krishna in a suit and tie, go ahead. There's no restriction. As long as in your mind you're thinking of Krishna and you have Bhagavad Bhavana. Bhagavad Bhavana means that your intention is that this is real Krishna. He is right here, and this is him in front of me. That's Bhagavad Bhavana. Then anything you imagine is right, it's correct. Krishna knows that until God realization, until you get a divine mind, you can't imagine his actual divine form. Nobody can. So he's not demanding that we have a perfect meditation. He's just saying, make the effort. Try to imagine my form. That's Roop Dhyan. Whatever effort you make, I'll grace you accordingly. According to your effort, not according to the quality of your imagination. And he gives us total freedom to have as much variety as we want. Put one mala on him, a flower mala. Then you think, I want a different color one with more red. Okay, put more roses in it. Keep changing it. Put a big diamond necklace on him. Greater, more expensive than anything available in this world. Maharaji says, see, you don't even have to worry about cost. Whatever's the best diamond you can imagine, make a necklace out of that. In your mind, you're holding that and you put it on Krishna. After a while you get bored, you want to make it a blue diamond. Okay, take that necklace off. Bring another necklace with a big blue diamond, put that on him. So keep changing his decorations. Just do this for hours and hours in your mind. You're doing smaran. A lot of people like to do puja, and saints have recommended, through history, certain saints have taught to worship Krishna by worshiping a deity of Krishna. Washing, bathing that deity, dressing and decorating and offering food and putting them to bed and waking him up. But Sri Maharaji says he recommends doing all of this in your mind. You want to do murti puja? Murti means the deity of Krishna, and puja means worshipping him and serving him in this way. You want to do that form of worship? Do it, but not with a physical stone or metal deity. Close your eyes and imagine Krishna is in front of you, and not just a static deity, real Krishna. That's also a form of a murti. In Bhagavatam, there's a description of 9 different kinds of murtis, depending on what it's made out of. Certain kinds of metal, stone, etc. But one of those 9 is called Manomai Murti. It means the murti you make out of your own imagination. That is also a form of Krishna's deity. So you imagine Krishna in your mind, and then you bathe him, decorate him, serve him food, do all of that. Sri Maharaji says there are several advantages to this over doing the actual physical puja to the deity. Although doing the physical puja to the deity is fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but there are some drawbacks compared to just doing it in your mind. Number one, the amount of variation that you can have when you're doing it mentally is unlimited compared to how much variation can you have when you're dressing Krishna, an actual physical murti of Krishna. Well, even if you're a millionaire, there's still a limitation to how many different malas, how many different pitambars, how many different dhotis you're going to have in stock. Then there's the question of going out and getting those things. So this induces a kind of, on one hand, possibly a boredom in the mind, which wouldn't be there if you were doing the whole thing mentally. You can imagine all the different variations you want. And number two, a stress that, oh, I wanted to dress Krishna with this, I wanted to offer that, but I ran out. Or I couldn't afford that thing. I wanted to offer him the best thing, but I couldn't afford it. So do it in your mind and offer him something better than even Indra would have in Swarg. So there's no such problems or stress or restrictions when you're doing it in your mind, and the benefit is the same. Because the whole reason of doing it with the physical murti is that your mind is engaged in thinking of Krishna. So leave aside the physical part and just do it in your mind. Same result, without any stress or worry. And there's no other rules like there are with worshipping a physical murti. You have to be careful. There's a certain right way to do things, wrong way to do things. You have to bathe yourself before you can do any of that worship. There's no such rule of time or place or being dirty or being clean when you're doing Roop Dhyan. You can do it anywhere. In a subway, on top of a building, in a temple, in your own house, in your car, not if you're driving. You can do Roop Dhyan anywhere. You don't even have to worry if you're clean or dirty, because your mind is always dirty. I'm telling you Maharaji's words. He says your mind is dirty anyway, and you can't make Krishna dirty. By thinking of Krishna, your mind will become clean. In fact, Padma Puran says by doing remembrance of Krishna, not only is your inside purified, your outside is purified as well. So you can't make Krishna dirty by remembering him if you're in a dirty place, or if your body is dirty, remembering him. Maharaji says, smear your body with filth and then do Roop Dhyan, no problem. It doesn't matter. He says we all carry around at least a couple of pounds of waste in here at all times. So it doesn't matter how clean you make your skin, we're always dirty in here, not to mention how dirty our mind is. So forget the idea of being dirty or clean. When it comes to Roop Dhyan, do it 24 hours a day, no matter what your physical state. No rule of time or place. There's a story in Brahma Vaivart Puran that a very poor man one time was listening to a saint who was telling about this, how you can worship Krishna just in your mind. So he thought, wow, this is really great. You know, I can't afford to buy things if I want to worship Krishna and have an actual physical deity. I can barely afford to feed myself, let alone buy anything for Krishna. So this is great. After that, every day he used to sit and meditate, and in his mind he would wake Krishna up. He would bathe him using, keep in mind this is all in his mind, he would bring holy water from all the different holy rivers of India, and using this water he would add some different subtle, deep fragrances to it. And then according to the temperature, he would make, meaning the air temperature, whether it was summer or winter, he'd make the water the right temperature for bathing Krishna. And he'd bathe him, then he'd dress him and decorate him. Every day he would worship him like this. So one day, after he had decorated Krishna, he wanted to offer him some food. So in his mind, he just called for a golden thali encrusted with diamonds and with some golden small bowls to hold all the different kinds of food he was going to offer him. And in his mind, he filled it with all the best kinds of food he wanted to offer. And then in his mind, he picked up that thali and he felt from underneath that the thali was quite hot. So he figured that the food must be very hot. So he put his finger in one of the bowls to see how hot it was, and his finger got burnt. The food was that hot. So he thought, oh, the food is way too hot to offer to Krishna. And now I've also put my finger in it, so I'm going to have to make some whole new food. I can't offer this food to him. So as he was thinking this, his meditation kind of broke. He came out of his meditation, and he noticed that his finger was actually burnt. Now Vishnu was watching all of this, and he said to Lakshmi, do you want to see a real devotee? So he called that devotee, and he called him, and he said, Lakshmi, why don't you ask him, how did he burn his finger? So Sri Maharaj says, this is all just devotion from inside, without any physical complications. Someone might wonder, why does this work? Here's a technical question for you. When Krishna is divine and our mind is material, it means we can't think of his actual divine form until after we get a divine mind. With a divine mind, you can think of his divine form. So with our material mind, whatever we can think of would all be material. We can't think of anything divine. Then why do we get a divine result for our material meditation? It's a question some people may ask. And the answer is very scientific. God is omnipresent. So just like a person could worship a physical stone deity of Krishna, but if he worships with this feeling that Krishna is in that deity, so he's not worshiping a piece of stone, he's worshiping Krishna, whom he knows is omnipresent, so he's everywhere, including in that stone deity. As we heard in Sri Maharaj's speech this morning and yesterday morning, God is omnipresent in his personal form. So in his personal form, Krishna is everywhere. Also in that deity. So if you worship the deity just thinking it's a piece of stone, you won't get a divine result. But if you worship the deity with this feeling that that's Krishna, this is real Krishna, you're right, it is real Krishna. And you will get a divine result. So you get the result according to your intention, according to your feelings. It's the same thing with Roop Dhyan. When you imagine the form of Krishna in your mind, Krishna is also in that. He's also in your mind. He's also in your meditation. He's omnipresent. So if you have the feeling this is real Krishna, he'll give you a divine result. So it's very simple. Roop Dhyan works because Krishna is omnipresent and because he wants to grace us. He's looking for any reason to grace us. So he says, you just make the effort and I'll grace you for your feelings, for your effort. So this Roop Dhyan, which we have to do, it's this practice which purifies our heart. It's done in two styles. One is called Milan style of Roop Dhyan, which means meeting with Radha Krishna. And the other is Viraha style of Roop Dhyan, which means separation from Radha and Krishna and longing for them. So Sri Maharaj describes that to do this, you can imagine that you're sitting or standing in divine Vrindavan or in any place. And you see Radha and Krishna coming towards you. And then, like I said, according to your own preference, you can imagine their features and decorations and height and age. And they come closer and closer and closer. And Sri Maharaj says, don't make it like in the photographs, how in the photographs Radha and Krishna are looking at each other. He says, they're looking at you. They're looking at you and they're smiling at you and they're looking at you with a desire. Like in this world, when you're looking at someone that you have a lot of love for in your heart, and that love is just bursting out of your heart, and you're looking at them, that feeling is transferred into your gaze. You look at them with that feeling. So Radha and Krishna are looking at you with that feeling, desiring to come close to you, imagine. And then you get up, you come close to them, maybe you fall at their feet and you touch their feet, and then they pick you up, make you stand up, and they embrace you. This is a way of doing this Milan style of Roop Dhyan. Then Maharaji says, you do that for a while, then after a while, you open your eyes and you realize, oh, that was just my meditation. Radha and Krishna haven't actually come to me. Now you're doing viraha style of meditation. They haven't come to me. I'm such a fallen soul. They're just waiting. They've been waiting forever for me to accept them. And I haven't been able to surrender to them yet. Oh, when will they come to me? And now in your mind you long for them and you beg them, even with open eyes or closed eyes, either one. Even with open eyes, just longing, Radha, Krishna, please come now. And you wait for them to appear in front of you. This is viraha style of meditation. Sri Maharaji says, in addition to this, for a different way of doing viraha meditation, you can imagine this. Close your eyes and imagine your soul coming up right out of your physical body, leaving your physical body, and now you're floating above your physical body, looking down at yourself. And you have now a subtle body. You're a gopi. You have a divine body. Just like Radha and Krishna's divine body is so beautiful and shines, glows with its divinity and with its beauty and attractiveness, you have a body like that now. A divine, glowing, beautifully decorated body of a gopi. And you rise up. You rise up to the top of this Brahmand, this planetary system. And there's a crack in the top of it, and you go through that, and you rise up through and out of the Brahman, and you enter into Brahmadrav, the place of formless God, where the Jnanis and Yogis go. And you see a beautiful divine light permeating and pervading Brahmadrav. But you go beyond that. You go beyond right up to Golok and Vrindavan abode of Radha and Krishna. So there you go to the very entrance of Golok, but you stop there. You're not able to enter. And you wait there at the edge, at the entrance to Golok, and you cry for Radha and Krishna. Please let me enter. Please come and let me enter your Golok abode. So with this longing, you just cry and ask them to let you come in. Then, if you'd like, you can imagine Radha and Krishna coming to you and bringing you into divine Golok, and then you get to, you join in with whatever divine Leela is happening. And then imagine any Leela you want. So in this way, you can keep your mind engaged by also changing between viraha and milan. So this is the practical form of devotion. It's meditation, but it's not a technical meditation. It's a loving meditation done from the heart, and it's not successful just because of our technique. It's successful because of our surrender to Radha and Krishna, our longing for them, and our intention that in this meditation, real Radha and Krishna are here. So you do that Roop Dhyan, that's the core of bhakti. Then along with that, you can add in any other physical or outer form of bhakti that works for you. But out of all the other forms of bhakti, two have been said to be main, Shravan and Kirtan. So for this current atmosphere and situation of the world nowadays, although in all ages smaran is required, but in different ages the supporting outer forms of bhakti may change. A different one may be recommended at different times. So in Kali Yuga, kirtan is recommended. Do kirtan to support your Roop Dhyan. The sound of the kirtan does a couple of things. For one, it blocks out external distractions. So other noises are not going to distract you from your meditation. Secondly, it's the nature of the mind to wander. So the sound of the kirtan also draws the mind in. And then, if there's a description in that kirtan, like a description of Radha and Krishna's looks, their features, their decorations, or of any leela, then that really pulls your mind into thinking about them. You just follow the description and you're automatically thinking of them. So doing the kirtan is a big help. Doing smaran in silence is fine, but for the great majority of devotees, they cannot do it in silence for very long before their mind gets bored or they get distracted. So to really do it successfully for a longer period of time, you need the help of the kirtan. So Roop Dhyan plus kirtan is the actual form of bhakti that we practice. And along with that, you can listen to any speech of Maharajji's or read any of his books. That's also a form of shravan, although you're not listening to the book, but it's the same. You're reading Maharajji's words, so it's a form of shravan. This has to be done every day. So every day we take some time which is dedicated exclusively for doing smaran and kirtan, and possibly shravan as well. Some time has to be taken, which is wholeheartedly dedicated just for doing this. But during the rest of the day, we have to be physically active in the world. So during that time as well, we're meant to, as much as possible, remember that Radha and Krishna are always with us. And Sri Maharajji says, any time during the day where you get a chance, whether maybe you're a passenger in a car or on a bus or on a train going to work, use that time to do Roop Dhyan of Radha Krishna. You get a 5-minute break at work and you're feeling stressed out, close your eyes and just with your breath say Radhe, Radhe and meditate, do smaran of Radha Krishna. So any chance you get a break, you can do smaran, and the rest of the day, as much as possible, feel their presence with you. Take a break every once in a while, just for a couple of moments from whatever you're doing, and remind yourself, I'm not alone. They're here with me. So both of those practices have to be a part of our life. Bhakti is not just a practice we do in the morning and at night, and then the rest of the day we allow our mind to wander freely in the world. Bhakti means we're loving Radha and Krishna. So when you love someone, you love them all the time, 24 hours a day. And when you really love someone, they stay in your heart all the time. No matter what you're thinking, no matter what you're doing, that feeling of connection to them always remains. So this starts to happen naturally when you enter the stage of bhao bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means your mind is just going naturally into the world, and you make the effort of bringing it back into remembering Radha and Krishna. You have to do that practice. It takes time, but eventually you will start to experience the first signs of bhao bhakti, which we'll talk about in more detail in 2 days. But for now, just understand it in this way, that you start to, that deep connection you feel to them starts remaining in your consciousness all the time, no matter what you're doing throughout the day. So now we understand the actual form of bhakti that has to be practiced every day. There's one more detail that has to be understood about how to practice bhakti. It is that this sadhana bhakti, which I told you has 9 main forms, and out of those 9, 3 are main, and out of those 3, 1 is main, Roop Dhyan. So this sadhana bhakti has 2 ways in which it can be practiced. One is called Vaidhi Bhakti and one is called Raganuga Bhakti. The same Navadha Bhakti, same 9 types or 9 ways of doing sadhana, can be done as Vaidhi Bhakti and can be done as Raganuga Bhakti. So Kripaluji Maharaj teaches Raganuga Bhakti, but tomorrow I'm going to explain to you the difference. What is the difference between Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti, and why do we choose to do Raganuga Bhakti?